Hello, my friends, and welcome to another edition in my 10-minute coaching sessions. I'm here in my garden today with some tomato plants, which I'm going to tell you more about in a moment. But this session today is about what you want to go for. I had a conversation with a young person a few weeks ago who was feeling a little lost and unsure about what she wanted, feeling like she'd tried a few things, they hadn't worked out. She wasn't sure how to really go for what it was that she wanted, or even what it was that she wanted, feeling a bit like a failure and just a little lost in life. Do you ever feel like that? So I was debating and contemplating, what is it that stops us going for what it is that we would love in life, or even looking at what it is we'd really love in life? The biggest thing I think that stops us is fear. And we have fears about what would happen if we failed, sometimes fears about success as well. Sometimes we look at past experiences, things that have happened or that we've done in the past, and well, we can't do it because it didn't work back then, or wasn't very good at this, or I failed that exam, I didn't get the results I wanted, my school report said I would never amount to anything. But we all know of stories where people have overcome those sorts of comments, external comments. Sometimes we have a lack of self-belief, self-doubt, that sense of, oh, I don't even know whether I can, or I'm not even sure if I want it. And we have inner stories and demons that sit on our shoulders and say, well, see, that didn't work very well, or you're not very good at that, are you? That didn't show up right. You failed at this, you can't do it very well. Lots of different voices, maybe even your parents' voice or a school teacher's voice from your past. You can hear them saying, pointing out your failures, your mistakes, the places where you obviously can't do what you want to do, or you can't be clear, or that hope and dream that seems totally impossible is indeed out of your reach. We live as human beings with limiting beliefs, beliefs that we learn right the way through our lives, or right way, certainly in our early childhood, and carry with us through our lives. Beliefs that we're not worthy, beliefs that we're not good enough, beliefs that we're powerless and helpless, we can't do, we're not capable, beliefs that we don't belong or don't fit in, or we need to be a certain way in order to belong and to fit in. These are natural, normal human experiences, and we can either live with them or move beyond them. And here I am with these tomato plants, and I want to share a little bit of their story. These, as you can probably see, are not very big, but they are indeed producing fruit. Can you see? We've even got a couple, let me just move this out of the way, without my hand, a couple of ripe ones in there. These are cherry tomatoes. I grew the parent plant last year and it got blight. Blight is a fungal infection that affects the plant, kills it off, and kills its fruit as well. And you need to burn them because the blight can stay in the soil and affect your compost heap. So indeed what I did was I pulled this up and I put the pot that the soil was in, I put it into an area of my garden underneath trees, just to kind of settle down for the winter, and then I was going to spread it round underneath the trees where I'm not going to grow any fruits or vegetables. And lo and behold, when I went to look this spring and pulled out this pot, there were these 5 little seedlings growing in the medium. They looked perfectly fit, perfectly healthy. So what I did was I took them out, I shook off as much of the potentially diseased soil as I could. I put them in new compost, and they've been sat on my wall here in the garden ever since. I've watered them and looked after them as best I can. And as you can see, They're not huge ones, they're just a couple of feet tall, but they are producing fruit, and the fruit is delicious. They are perfectly healthy, functioning little tomato plants that have arrived in my garden completely from a totally inauspicious beginning. In fact, some should say they just shouldn't be here at all. So, what is it that's brought these tomato plants into production and into life as they are right now? It has nothing to do with their past history. And in fact, in nature, one of the things we do not encounter is ego. That part of us as human beings, our egoic vehicle that steers us around life, that we need in order to negotiate our lives. But you don't find that in nature, and it's not limited by any of the thoughts of the ego, the thoughts of our identity, those thoughts that sometimes can lead us into magic and wonder, and often can lead us into the limitation. If these tomato plants had thought, well, I can't be anything because my parents weren't very good, they were diseased and they died without, really manifesting as a tomato plant, without being a proper tomato plant. I can't do anything. I'm my parents' child, and that's just the way it is in our family. How many times have you heard that kind of story from people? These tomato plants are a demonstration that in nature doesn't need to be like that, and neither does it need to be like that for you. So rather than being held back by the past, perhaps we can simply, as these little tomato seedlings have done, we can simply express ourselves, the uniqueness and the truth of our hearts and who we are. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing, in my opinion, is recognizing that it really isn't what happens to us that is important. It's what we do with what happens to us that matters. It's not what's important, it's not what happens to us that is important. It is what we do with what happens that matters. So, whatever has happened in the past, whether you have passed your exams or failed them, whether you got a university degree or you didn't, whether you had a fabulous childhood or you didn't, whether you got fired from your job or you didn't, none of that matters. What matters right now is how you are in this moment and what you choose to bring forward. So, this is about making the choice for your heart. Now, the heart to me is not just that physical beating, pumping part of your body, but it is the center of your soul, your spirit. It's the part of you that brings forward life, not simply in its physical form, but in that way that expresses you. And how do we connect with that? Well, that for me is about being still, about dreaming, about being willing to simply hold yourself in the possibility that what you would truly love is available to you. So, make it up. If you don't know, make it up. The part of you that is in touch with that part I call the heart, your spirit, your soul, your life force, that knows what you want. It's with you, it's speaking to you all the time if you listen. And it will speak to you in your dreams, it will speak to you with a thought that seems to come out of nowhere. It might speak to you with a feeling, a sensation, but it will be speaking to you. And when you start to listen, coincidences and magic will unfold along your path, just like these beautiful little tomato seedlings. I think it was in Frozen 2, which I watched recently with my grandchildren, that Anna says something like, "It is love that enables us to do the most extraordinary things in most extraordinary circumstances. Love. And love is not simply that egoic mushiness that you get in Hollywood movies, but the real, true, unconditional loving, the love of life, the love of yourself, the passion and exuberance that comes from simply being true to yourself. And then, as again they say in Frozen, and I think it's Elsa this time, she says, all I have to do is the next right thing. And that's not about right and wrong. It's simply about what shows up and trusting your heart that your heart will guide you to the next right thing, the next best action step for you to take to live your heart's true desire. So it's goodbye from the tomatoes and goodbye from me, and I'll see you again soon.